Very good evening to everybody, and welcome to this next in our live stream series. This is Christopher Daigan coming to you from our home, KwaZulu-Natal. It is 6 o'clock on the dot by the second. Hope that you can join us for the next hour or so in our in-concert series. Our Saturday evening is our classical music program, and this evening I've got music for you which I'll be playing by Mozart, Chopin, Ravel and Brahms in classic adventures. This is repertoire that is not the war horses, a little bit off the beaten path, you might say, and just some interesting repertoire and some interesting ideas to bring this to all of you in a new way. If you are able to support us, of course, please do visit my website, musicrevival.co.za. You'll also be able to sign up for the mailing list and find a whole page there called Donate, which gives you numerous options about how you can support us financially, as these streams are going out for free, and I'm entirely dependent on those viewing and enjoying these programs for your support to keep making a living and also to keep running the considerable expenses of keeping this platform going. So this evening's program, as I said, a little bit more unusual repertoire, not so much of your mainstream, but I think very entertaining and very beautiful. And I'm often asked by people, numerous people, how I compile the programs and how I choose exactly what I'm going to play. And in this case, it seems to have come from two opposite ends, because I was very interested. I was looking at some repertoire and I thought, well, I haven't played this before, and I haven't played this piece for a while, and there's some Chopin Nocturnes which I've never played before. I've learned them only in the past few weeks. I've been quite fascinated by these two pieces, and so I'll be bringing them to you this evening. But as I looked at how this music fitted together, it also struck me that each of them demonstrate quite unique and quite different aspects about how the music, classical music, is constructed and what it's really about. And a friend of mine who was quite a lot younger than me got into my car one day, and I happened to have a CD in my car. I've got an old car, so it's still got only CDs. And there seems to be one CD that always is in the play, and it seems to be there for months. And he said, why do you always listen to this music? Why don't you listen to normal music, meaning something more contemporary and popular? And he said, you know, why is this classical music that you're always listening to, and why do you always listen to such old music? And I thought to myself, well, it's actually not. It's great music, and it's not great because it's old. Well, it's not good because it's old. It's good because it's classic. It's been around for a long time. And as I said last week, so many of the experiences that people have written this music under, and in terms of the world around them, are in fact no different. Personal experiences, world upheavals, major world events. These are all things that have been reflected in this music in different ways. And so tonight's music is very interesting because it actually shows a number of contrasting ideas about how composers have reflected the world around them. If you start thinking about that, and you start thinking about why this classical music is so worthwhile and what we can actually gain from it. What does it really mean to us? It can reflect the world as they see it. It can also reflect the world maybe as they desire to see it, or they could reflect certain aspects of their emotions or certain questions, some of which are resolved and some of which are not. And in these pieces you will see, as I said, numerous contrasted ideas, and I hope that you'll join me in focusing on these elements in this evening's selection. So I'm going to start off with the Sonata by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. This is the Sonata in D major, K311. Again, if you haven't picked up, the K numbers that we always have in Mozart's music refers to the musician Mr. Köchel, who catalogued Mozart's compositions from K1, which he wrote when he was 6 or 7 years old, to K626, which he wrote in the last months of his life, somewhere around there. So Mozart here in this situation is writing a very resplendent. D major is a key that he often associates with resplendent royalty, and is no exception. This is a very sunny and optimistic sonata throughout. There are three movements: a buoyant fast movement, a very slow and gentle, slightly meditative slow movement, and then a very jaunty and very up-tempo rondo with a very happy theme. So in the first movement, we hear, first of all, this joyous idea, a very strong, confident idea, first of all, which is then contrasted, you might say, by a more lyrical, something a little bit more lyrical, something a bit smoother, something bustly at first, something a little bit smoother. I repeat that, and in the middle section of the piece, there's a kind of challenge. There's a sort of bit uncertainty, and then these two ideas are repeated, bustling again and the lyricism of the second one. There's a slight change in the lyricism of the second one in that the contrast and the key that it has provided has now been placated, you might say. But in this, what we really get out of it, apart from the continuity of rhythm and the continuity, the predictability of the style, the continuity of the notes and the flow of the music, we get a sense that how the ideas are presented, challenged, and then how rewarding it is when they come back. That we hear something, we contrast it with something else, and then they come back either in their same form or slightly transformed. In the second movement, a similar thing happens, but in a very calm and gentle way. And in the last movement, a rondo, so this is the melody that you hear at the beginning of the movement that is repeated. You'll hear it at least 4 times in this movement, very up-tempo and very popular little. You'll hear that whole sequence of melodies 4 times within the piece, and every time something contrasts in between. And it's very affirming because we all like to hear a tune we know, and it's very affirming when it comes back again and again. And every time there's a contrast, the familiarity of the opening theme is where we feel there's something confident, we feel comfortable, because it's a well-known friend, you might say, that's returning around another corner each time, just when he disappears and then he comes back. And that sense of that all is going to end well, and that all is going to be resolved, and that all is going to actually end on a positive and concluded closing note with great logic is very comforting in Mozart's music. So this is the Sonata in D major, okay, 311, 3 movements, bristling allegro, a lyrical adagio or andante, and then this rondo with full of interesting contrasted ideas and a returning theme that gives us great comfort. That was the Sonata in D major, a K311 by Wolfgang Amadeus, with 3 movements, an allegro, a bustling allegro, reflective andante, very beautiful melody. I love the way that comes back at the end with that melody then spread out into octaves, and the very bustling rondo. And as I said, there's something unique about that music. Well, actually not unique, it's actually very much typical of the time. Structures are presented, ideas are presented, they're very much formulaic, they follow certain patterns, but there is this sense that there's a sense of a feeling of comfort and a feeling of knowledge, a feeling of challenge. We're not sure what's going on. The system is being challenged. There's a bit of upheaval and turbulence, and then we come back to what we know. And that resolution of hearing the material that we're familiar with, the melodies that we've heard before, now resolved into a very logical and concise ending, is so comforting and so rewarding. So as I was saying earlier, this music for me, the classical music, and the value of it really gives us, sometimes answers questions, sometimes it provides closure, sometimes it actually provides a sense of comfort just through the fact that it is so logical and so precise. And other times it just reflects the state of a certain questioning that we might have. And this leads us really to the first of 3 pieces which I'd like to play for you now. There are 2 nocturnes by Frédéric Chopin. These are both new pieces for me, and I've been quite fascinated by them. The first one in particular is very rarely played. It is a very, very unusual piece, and I think quite extraordinary, quite daring in Chopin's output. This is the Nocturne in G minor, opus 15, number 3. The music is very static, as opposed to these gentle, rolling left-hand patterns you often find in the nocturnes. There's something very static in this music and very pared down, very open. Chopin wields himself through this melody, then finds himself in a completely new idea, almost like a hymn, and instead of returning to the opening idea as he normally would, he then ends the piece of music with a completely questioning third idea, which is very unusual. This is a very unusual idea, very unusual in his output, and I think that's one of the reasons why this piece is not often played, is that it's actually quite perplexing. It doesn't leave one feeling particularly comforted or particularly closed on the questions. He's posing so many questions and no answers. The second piece of music is the Nocturne in A flat, opus 32, number 2. And just to point out how this actually, I mean, it's the opposite idea. Chopin starts off with an introduction, which is just an opening statement, just to lay the groundwork for what he follows. And then he produces a beautiful melody. A contrasting middle section. The melody returns, the opening melody returns, but now played in a very grand appassionata, he writes. And he repeats the whole first section and then ends the piece with the exact same 2 bars that he started with. Which you'll hear when you've heard the entire composition, and all these elements, the journey that you've taken from beginning to end is quite a unique statement. It's hearing the same idea, the same musical idea, but now in a completely different context, because it's the end and not the beginning, and maybe reminds us about the cycles in our lives that are beginnings and ends all the time. And then the third piece in this 3 set that I'd like to play is something a little bit different, by Ravel, Maurice Ravel, early 20th century French music from his Miroirs, pieces of music that depict various atmospheres and scenes. And I think what attracts me to this music, and why I think it fits together with the other 2 pieces quite well, is that there's this very elusive nature of the music. Noctuelle, or night creatures, or night moths. This is very subtle music, of music darting up and down the keyboard, like moths gathered, intoxicated by a light, then burning and their wings disintegrating, falling to the ground with whirling motions. There are lots of patterns which whirl down to the ground. And then there's these static elements of nostalgia and of a certain unease almost, you might say, in the midsection of the piece. So while it's highly structured and highly organized, there's this very elusive, mysterious character, night vision of a very, I wouldn't say threatening, but a very uncertain nature. So these are two Nocturnes by Frédéric Chopin and Noctuelles from Miroirs by Maurice Ravel. And I'm going to get my score. mysterious and evocative and slightly elusive music there from Maurice Ravel, from his Miroirs and Noctuelles, night creatures or night moths. I like the idea of the moths circling up into the air, chasing the light and then disappearing, swirling down in their twirls to the ground. Before that, I played two Nocturnes by Frédéric Chopin. First of all, the Nocturne in G minor, Opus 15 number 3, very unusual piece, but I think actually very evocative, very unique piece of music. And then the Nocturne Opus 32 number 2 in A flat major. Now I'm going to end off this evening's program with two compositions by Johannes Brahms. Again, with this music, there is a sense of being just in the moment somehow. And Brahms wrote a number of these short pieces in the last years of his life, which he described the cradle songs of his sorrows. After I think he had pretty much given up writing for the piano, he then went into a whole spur of a great flurry of activity, writing a number of these short pieces, which have really got very unique characters. And so many people have said to me when they've heard these pieces, they actually are quite challenging, in many ways to listen to, but they ask more questions than they answer, which I think is a very good way of putting it. And again, this music, the fact that this music reflects something, an experience or a state of emotion or a feeling of doubt or anxiety or uncertainty, the music can reflect that in our lives. It reflects something, it gives us an experience and a feeling that we are not alone in this, that people have experienced this and expressed these same emotions themselves many times before. And sometimes there's an answer and sometimes there isn't. So these are two pieces from the 6 piano pieces, Opus 118. First of all, the Romance, and then the beautiful Intermezzo. That was the two pieces from Brahms' Sechs piano pieces, opus 118. First of all, the Romance, and then the Intermezzo. I think I must actually prepare that whole set of 6 piano pieces and play them for you one day. It really is unique music, and as I say, in the point in Brahms' life where he really was contemplating something quite unique and presenting some very intimate and quite powerful thoughts in a quite wonderfully expressive way. That does bring us to the end of this evening's session. It is 2 minutes past 7. I hope you've enjoyed the selection of music that offers conclusions, possibilities, questions, structure, continuity, predictability, and it's just as much as we've been here twice a week, every week, twice a week for a year and a half now. It's the end of July, and with great predictability. Of course, who is arriving at my feet? Well, of course, first of all, it's little Frida. Hello, Frida, just on cue. How did you know that I was just finished? It's almost as though you know when it's all over and that you know you can come on. Here's little Freedy Pop. Hello, Freeds, how are you doing today? Oh, you got a big lixie, yes. Oh, yes, it's been a very nice day today. It's been lovely. Oh, and you're looking at some snacks there. You can see maybe an apple next. No, you don't like apples that much, eh? Hello, Freeds. Look how cute you are. Look how sweet. And let's see who else is here. Oh, my surprise, surprise. Look who it is. It's the little pudding. It's the pudding. I think Barry's going to have to adjust the camera slightly because little Lucy is here in the picture. Do you need to adjust? Because only little Lucy's head's sticking out. We need to see more of little Lucy. Oh dear, well, we're having to mess up Barry's final shots. Hello, Luce. Look, you still got your little pink bow in your ear. How cute is that? How absolutely sweet. Oh, look here, Wendy Pop's coming to say hello too. Oh, you're giving Wendy Pop a good coddy eye, a good white sea eye there, because wondering what is going on. So, little Luce, are you the sweetest girl ever? Little Lucy, the long-haired dachshund. Oh, yes, you're having a good look to see what Frida's doing, lying on her back. And Luce, what we did something together. We both, yes, you didn't do nothing today. We both sat in the sun. We actually fell asleep. I fell asleep in the sun. It's been such a beautiful day. The sun was so warm and so refreshing and reviving after all this cold. It was just the most blissful experience. We did that together. So we didn't do nothing. We did something today. We fell asleep in the sun. There we go. The look on your face. Please, you are so cute. The sweetest. Everyone wants to see little Lucy. Thank you to everyone who's been sending emails and messages and Facebook messages and WhatsApps detailing how they experience these live streams. It's really been wonderful and very encouraging and really fantastic to hear from so many people. And everyone, of course, mentions little Lucy. Little Lucy is the star of the show. I think we'll have to have a live stream just for little Lucy one day. And everyone can just watch little Lucy just sleep and do nothing. Little Lucy does nothing. That can be the name of the live stream session. With a little pause. How cute. Okay, you're going to sit down and I'm going to pick up Wendy because Wendy Pop's desperate to come up. Hello, Wendy Pop. You're also coming up. You've got all 3 puppets coming up. Oh, look how, yes, you. Very keen. What have you been up to, Wendy? Oh, you've been chasing all sorts of things around the garden. Your tail waggy, waggy, waggy. And yes, you're a proper brown and tan dachshund. You're a real hunter. There we go. Oh, someone wants to bark at you now. Oh, you can't give me licks. Right, yeah. Well, thank you to Barry for the technical support this evening. Thank you for Lucy and Wendy and Frida for making a little guest appearance. Thank you for joining me this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the session of music. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday for our next piano hour on Wednesday evenings. Look after yourselves, keep well, stay well, and be safe. We'll look forward to seeing you then.